The Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Buddy Manning here. Welcome back to the Garden Report from TD Garden on Christmas. Noah Dalzell alongside. And the other big news from this one, Kristaps Porzingis hurt again. 11 games back. He's tweaked an ankle, heel, now ankle again. This one, the same one he hurt shortly after his return. Bounced right back from that one. And I figure he'll probably do the same from this one, given that he played out the first half. But the Celtics sat him down at halftime. He did not return, was listed as doubtful. And we've now seen tweak pretty much every other game or every third game since he's been back at this point. How concerning is it?
I would say it's a little concerning. I mean, there's a couple of different factors at play. One is, I think if Jason Tatum comes into the half with the same ankle that Porzingis had today, most likely he plays out the game. It's Christmas Day, national TV. He's going to push through it. But with Porzingis, there's an extra level of caution that we welcome, that we understand where it comes from. But then there's also the reality that he hasn't been able to play more than 3 consecutive games dating back to last regular season because, he missed the entire playoffs, comes back, plays 2 games, obviously has that rare leg injury, misses the whole summer, beginning of the season, and then he hasn't really been able to find a consistent rhythm here. And my concern is just that these injuries feel unavoidable. We know they have a great medical staff. We know that he's a hard worker. We know that he's taking his time and they're not playing him on back-to-backs. And it's not like anything. He's not getting beat up out there. It's just these awkward landings. And that's moving forward. I'm like, how does this guy stay healthy through the rest of the season and through the playoffs when it just feels like it's just a little misstep and then you're back in the same position?
It happened 90 seconds into the game pretty much. Lined up Embiid in isolation and pretty much stepped into his move and turned the left ankle, similar to the same way he did it last time. So non-contact often, usually just him stepping awkwardly, and I feel like he wasn't moving great after that heel injury a week or 2 ago now in DC either. So I don't know what's going on here. They feel avoidable. Some of it just looks like awkwardness.
They do feel avoidable to you?
Yeah, it's just, I think, maybe not at his size and his history here, but so much of it just seems like awkwardness, and I don't know what goes into it. He went over the bench, told the trainer he was fine, and continued playing up until that quick exit. He came back, played again into halftime, and then he was out of here. So it clearly wasn't enough to knock him out immediately. It probably just was cautiousness again. Joe didn't have an update after the game here, but we've talked about it. They probably need him a little bit more this year. So the in-out thing is going to be difficult to manage, especially as this team tries to stabilize its play a little bit.
Yeah, and this is the kind of game that Al Horford gave you all you could ask for. He was a plus 22 in 33 minutes tonight. So it was the non-Al minutes where they really struggled. And it wasn't, Luke was fine. Emi was fine. It wasn't that those guys.
Gave them a boost.
Yeah, those guys were not the problem. It's just tough when your big man rotation is Al, who is 38, 39, and then 2 guys who ultimately are not playoff performers. Like, they built this team expecting Porzingis to be available, and they survived in the playoffs last year, and that was a remarkable run and a remarkable team, and they also didn't have to deal with Embiid or Giannis or some of the premier big men in the league. But yeah, I am thinking long term here, like, something has to give. And just his build, he just seems like he's susceptible to it. So, you hope that this is maybe just a bad stretch and maybe he can come back in a couple weeks and get in that consistent rhythm, because he was healthy during the regular season last year. We were talking about, it was one of his healthier seasons, coming off a pretty healthy season with Washington. So he's capable of putting together these healthy stretches, but it feels risky, and it feels like you have to have some contingency plan in place that maybe they don't have right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're sitting here thinking, we could use another big man that's serviceable, or, thinking about his availability being more of a question mark than maybe they would like for it to be.
Interesting, too. He got hurt the first 2 times on Horford rest nights. So they've managed those 2. They've given them interchangeable nights off, but just some freak stuff to begin his season here. And stunted the conditioning, the momentum that you were hoping to see there. Played well tonight again, came back and hit some threes and all of that. I do wonder about the left leg, too. Same leg he got surgery on. He said after that injury against Memphis, the first ankle tweak, that wasn't a concern. He came back and finished that game. So I don't think it's related, but it is interesting that that's now happened twice to that ankle that he got surgically repaired over the summer.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I don't want to pretend to be a medical professional here, but we were told from the beginning this was a very rare injury. There wasn't like a track record of NBA players that we can point back to of what it's like when you recover. It's possible that it's something that weakens you a little bit or makes you more susceptible to these ankle sprains.
Right.
I'm not saying that with any definitive
happens with
reasoning,
any
but
ankle sprain.
right, but also the fact that there was a very kind of specific surgery that he experienced. Same thing with a knee surgery. Like you're more susceptible to swelling and things. So it's also possible that maybe this was just a regular ankle roll, but he's responding a little bit different. And we're not going to be told that either way. But it does feel unfortunate that it is the same part of his body that he had surgery on, and he's continuing to tweak that, even if it's not the exact same ligament or something that maybe is completely unrelated to. But it has you thinking that too.
Not much layoff here until Friday. They're back at it against the Pacers for a mini-series on Friday and Sunday. Porzingis, of course, missed that East Finals, and the Celtics still swept Indiana, but about as close of a sweep as you'll ever see there. It's a good timing for this. We talked about some of the Celtics struggles in our other video here. Check out Prize Picks. Use the code CLNS to get a bonus over there when you play a $5 lineup, as well as Game Time. I use Game Time for this game to get my mom and sister some tickets to this one. So CLNS, $20 off your first purchase over there. And for Noah Dalzell, I'm Bobby Manning. Kristaps Porzingis left this game at halftime and did not return with an ankle sprain. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.